John Fredericks Radio Network and the John Fredericks Radio app, and I am your Godzilla of the truth in America, your oracle of the deplorables. Thanks for being with us. Merry Christmas, everyone, and hope you're all going to have a great Christmas. Savior is born 1 week from today. Rejoice in the love of the Lord. Good to have you with us. Jessica Jackson coming up right now. Very quite the treat for us. Jessica is the CEO at Reform Alliance, and Jessica Jackson works alongside lawmakers, community leaders, partners, and Reform's board of directors to sustain momentum to elevate the national visibility of supervision reform. Jessica is an internationally recognized human rights attorney and bipartisan leader who has specialized in bringing many, many diverse groups together like me. So thank you for doing that, Jessica. And thanks for being with us. Jessica, thanks for joining us today. I know it's Christmas week and you had to rearrange your schedule to be with us. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's always fun.
Jessica, you know, I am a huge proponent of the First Step Act that Jared Kushner did with President Trump in the first term of the presidents. And I'm also a very vocal, very enthusiastic supporter of the Supervision Reform Act, because the way we do supervision now just doesn't make any sense. And you guys have stepped out to make this happen. But I tell you what is exciting here, right? People think, oh, Republicans are just, lock them up, put them away. The supervision reform is about supervised people that have been released from prison by the system, whether it's the parole board, the warden, whatever. They're already out. We don't have anything to do with how they got out. So they go through the process, they're out, now they're supervised. And we want the people that are following the rules, the supervision rules, we want them to support their families, get back in the job market, get a job. We all know that if you get a job and you become a productive member of society and you have a work, that the recidivism drops dramatically. But plus, we don't have enough supervisors for the people that really need the supervision that are causing problems. So this doesn't make any sense. And Trump voters, we just did a poll, McLaughlin did this. Trump voters, MAGA, 79% support the supervision, the Safer Supervision Act as momentum builds. Jessica, what's your take on this whole thing?
All right. Well, first, thanks for having me on, and thank you for all your passion around this issue. Look, exactly your point. We're talking about Americans who are already out in our communities, and we want to find ways to increase safety in our communities, save taxpayer resources, and make it where, their caseworkers can focus on the people who present the greatest risks, right? So we want to make sure that we are returning supervision to its original mission. Like a lot of things in government, this has become a bloated system. Used to be only 20 or so % of people were put on supervision. The caseworkers had time to help them find jobs, help them find housing, help them get the supports they needed, check in on them. But now it's about 98% of the population that has come home that's placed on supervision. And instead of being able to provide meaningful support, the supervision officers instead are having to play whack-a-mole, right? They're having to take on hundreds of cases and, just basically check to make sure everybody's still breathing, which we don't want. And they don't want. By the way, they've endorsed this bill, right? So that tells you how important the bill is.
Yeah, because there's too much time being wasted on people that don't need it. And the problem with supervision is, it sounds good on paper. Oh, they're going to be supervised. We don't have enough supervisors to focus on those that are released that really need the supervision and need the help. That's number one. But number two is you got to understand when you're under supervision, this is not like, every so often I take a phone call. You got to show up. You got to pee in the cup at certain times. You have to do exactly what the probation officer says when they say it. You got to miss time from work. And then you have to tell your boss, look, I'm under supervision. I might have to go at any time. It's not productive when you're trying to get a job, keep a job, and move up the ladder. And it handcuffs our supervisors, Jessica, because look, we had David Safarin on last week, and he talked about, some guy that had a a woman locked up in a shed for years. He
Oh,
was under
the
supervision.
the JC Dugard case. It's
Yeah, they
terrible.
never had time to go in the back. I mean, what was that about?
Oh God, such a heartbreaking case. She was kidnapped and kept in the shed in this man's home. He was on supervision. The supervision officer had too many cases, and like I said, was basically just doing a check-in. Hey, are you still here? You still live here? You still breathing? Great, leaving. All the while, for years and years, this woman is being held in a shed and being assaulted and abused and tortured, right? And that's exactly what we're trying to stop. And by the way, we're also trying to help give dignity back to some of the people who can be off supervision, right? We have heard some heartbreaking stories that just don't make sense. I personally went with Judith Negron, who received a commutation from President Trump in the first term. I went with her and two other women who had also received them, as well as Alice Johnson, who is now the pardon czar over at the White House, with her own incredible story. And we went to the White House in March of 2020 and thanked the president for everything that he had done in freeing people. And when we left the White House, I remember I got a call from Judith the next day, and she was so upset. And I said, Judith, what's going on? Right? Like, yesterday was the best day. We got to meet the president. We, got to thank him for everything he's doing. And she said, yes, but after my probation officer called me and he told me that he might have to violate me. And I said, why? I was thinking in my head, maybe she traveled to the White House without telling them, maybe there's something else. And she said, no, it's because he saw the news coverage. And I was in the Oval Office with two other women who had gotten out of prison. I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to be around somebody who has a felony conviction, or I could go back to prison. You had Duke Tanner on your show, last week. Duke is another example of this. Duke got out of prison, again, a wonderful case that the president gave a commutation, just so well deserved. And he had been in for a drug crime. His brother had been in as well. They had lost their mother while they were in prison. And they had made a plan that when they came home, they were going to honor her by spreading her ashes together. They come home and they told their supervision officers, and his brother's supervision officer said, no, you can't be around somebody with a criminal history, right? We have the dad who can't help his daughter in the middle of the night with changing her tire because she's out of the jurisdiction that he's confined to. We have parents who are having to make decisions between going to get their child medication outside of the hours they're allowed to leave the house, or letting their kid lay there and be sick, right? These are crazy decisions for people to be having to make. Meanwhile, you've got resources that need to be focused on people who actually need the support.
It's just such a no-brainer. That's why so many Republicans favor this. President Trump does. I mean, the polling that we just said by Fabrizio, which is President Trump's poller, 79% of MAGA voters support this, because we understand how absolutely critical it is to find ways to end the school to prison pipeline. We have the highest recidivism rate in the free world. It's just beyond the pale. And we build these prisons to house people. We don't want them to go back. We want them to get out, do their time if they've done something, get out, and then assimilate back into society and leave a productive and loving life with their family or whatever they might do. But unnecessary supervision is an obstacle to that. And I think that's what MAGA voters understand. Many of us have been through hard times, Jessica. People know my story. I mean, I was homeless. A lot of bad things happened in my life, right? Bad things happen. So, but you got to straighten yourself out. You got to have the opportunity to praise God and be able to work hard and get back on your feet like my wife, Anna and I did. This stuff is not easy. And so having another obstacle in front of you for no reason that we can take away because it makes sense for everybody. I mean, why wouldn't you be supportive of this? Laurel Lee is carrying this bill in the House.
Yeah.
She was a federal prosecutor and a judge. She put people away for a living. When somebody with those credentials says the federal supervision system is broken, shouldn't everybody listen?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, this poll showed that the American public wants this, right? We had, like you said, 79% of MAGA voters. I was actually a little shocked. 8 in 10 Trump voters said that either themselves or somebody they knew had been personally impacted by the criminal justice system. We had, 96% of the Trump voters saying that public safety needs to be top priority with any reform. That's exactly what this bill does. 87% of them said they supported investing in programs that actually increase chances of success for people on supervision, and 82% of them said they agreed with getting nonviolent folks trained and into work just so that we can create the safer communities, right? And I think a big piece of this is just identifying and cutting that red tape, right? How can you ask somebody to go get a job and tell them, in fact, I'm going to put you back in prison if you don't go get a job. But by the way, at 10 a.m. every morning, you need to call this office. And if I decide that morning that you need to come in and do a drug test, you got to leave work and come here and pee in a cup and then go back, right? And these are folks who might not have a car. They might be having to take the bus round trip, right? They certainly can't ask a friend because they might have a criminal conviction to give them a ride, right? They might not be in a job yet that makes enough for Uber. Or you got these supervision offices coming to that place of employment. We have plenty of technology now. You could do remote reporting. You could tell where somebody is, right? Instead, they want to have somebody come in and scare off customers, right? Can you imagine being an employer thinking through this, knowing that that person you might hire might, I don't know, be late to a meeting with their probation officer and get picked up and put it back in prison at any given moment? You're not going to be as likely to hire them. And that's why these reforms are so important. We have got to cut the red tape, the bureaucracy, and get these Americans back to work. They want to work.
And they deserve a second chance, and they deserve the opportunity to assimilate back into society, right? I mean, this is a second chance nation, and people get jammed up. I mean, they do dumb things, or they do bad things, or they make mistakes, or whatever happened. But this is, again, people. This isn't about letting criminals out of jail. This isn't no cash bail. This isn't Rikers Island. They're in and they're out in an hour committing another crime. These are people that have done time in a prison that the authorities have determined that they can be released, right? So we're not talking about, a lot of people get this mixed up, Jessica. They think this is about releasing criminals back in the street. Nothing to do with that, right? The decision was made. They've earned their release, and they're on supervision. And what they want you to do is, go back to your family, get a job, don't do this, don't do that, don't do drugs, don't do alcohol. But over a period of time, if you do all the things that the supervisory apparatus want you to do, then you should be able to get a reprieve and get off supervision as quickly as you can, so that those officers can then focus on the people that aren't doing exactly what we want them to do. And they're the ones that need the supervision and the help. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it also provides an incentive to people to actually get a job,
Right.
take the rehabilitative programming, right, to follow the rules. What we've seen is that federal supervision system has actually tripled in size, right? Originally was designed only to focus on people who had the greatest risks and
Right.
needs. As I said before, it now is over 110,000 people. Twice as many people are actually being sent back to prison for technical violations than for new crimes. I saw a stat yesterday that came out in a study that showed people on supervision nationally, not just the federal system, people on supervision nationally are responsible for less than 2% of the total crimes that are happening in this country, right? So 98% is not people on supervision. We're talking about Americans who are already in a community. We're talking about giving them a chance and incentives to rehabilitate themselves and get back to work. And we're talking about lightening the load on our supervision officers so we can save resources and focus on the actual risks that there are. This has been hugely popular, as you said. By the way, we didn't just write this for the federal system. This is based on the 22 bills we have passed in 12 states where we have shown we are making communities safer, we are cutting costs, we are adding accountability into the system. and people are happy with the results, right? They're seeing the real results on their streets. So we have built a huge coalition. As I said, the probation officers are supporting it. We've got some of the major, right of center groups, including American Conservative Union, AFPI. We've had Club for Growth has been supporting it. We've had the Right on Crime folks led by Brett Tolman, who I think has been on your show before as well. David Safavian, as you said, over at Unify. We've had a lot of law enforcement coming out saying we need this, judges saying, please, please, please give us more discretion. We don't want to just randomly be revoking people for these mandatory revocations. And we've had a ton of employers saying, this is exactly what I need to feel comfortable hiring people who are on supervision and giving them that second chance.
There's no doubt about it. Jessica Jackson with us. She's the CEO of Reform Alliance. One of the states that you passed this in that I hope that I was a forceful advocate of was in Virginia. We got Glenn Youngkin to sign it. That was a battle because, he's, whatever. I'm not even going to get into it, but the governor did the right thing. He signed it. There's always back and forth with that, but Glenn signed this bill, and thank you, Governor, for doing that, having the courage to do it. Are you doing anything in Washington, D.C. in the district?
So we don't have any legislation there, but like you said, we've passed legislation in Virginia, Pennsylvania, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, right? So many different states, 12 different states, where we've been able to see the results in real time and see that once you pass these reforms, once you implement these reforms, communities become safer and the state saves money. And that money can then be used to prevent crimes, to solve old crimes, right? And to actually invest resources into the people who need it to be successful.
Oh, you got it. I mean, you just nailed it. And look, we got to do federally what we did in Virginia. So I was very proud of our team for doing that. But look, it's Christmas. Congress isn't going to pass this anytime soon. So this bill is just kind of there. But for people living in the federal supervision, what does it look like? How soon you think we can get this in out of committee where it starts getting some traction?
I mean, we're hoping for a markup as soon as we get back from the recess. I hope everybody goes home, has a wonderful Christmas meal, eats all the turkey they can, argues over everything at the dining room table with their family, and has a great Christmas. But we are hoping as soon as we get back that we get back to work, right? We know that the midterms are around the corner. People are going to see that as a bit of a distraction. Interestingly, the polling we did actually showed that this is an incredible issue for Republican lawmakers to take on ahead of those midterms. We actually polled some of the target congressional districts, and it showed overwhelming support. So some of those representatives, we've reached out to them to let them know, hey, if you're thinking about what issues your base might want to hear from you on, this is one of them. If you're thinking about that election coming up in a few months now, this is one of those issues that your base wants to know that you're supporting. So we're hoping to get moving as soon as we get back from a wonderful Christmas break.
Well, we need to get this thing rolling, and you know how tough it is in there right now to get anything passed. I mean,
it is, but there's not many issues that both sides so overwhelmingly agree on.
Well, we got two bills with overwhelming backing. One has been, which is, my favorite bill in the history of the galaxy, which is the AM radio in every car bill. Obviously, that's my favorite bill ever in the history of the Republic. And that's got like the consensus we got there. We got 70 votes in the Senate. We got like 390 votes in the House, like co-signers. We can't get the thing on the floor. I mean, it's just, the problem is, the way the system works is, some person holds it up. If they don't like it, they can hold it up. And but I think this, the car bill with AM radio, okay, it's the right thing to do. This bill affects lives. Car bill could affect life in an emergency. This bill affects lives today, people's lives today.
Yeah.
This is why the critical nature of this, to get it through so that we can get those people that are on supervision that shouldn't be there off, and that we can go on and they can go on to live a productive life. And there's nothing better than having somebody like Duke on, or others that we've had on that, have found their way back, got jammed up a little bit. Sean, who I would talk to the other day, got jammed up, got back, and now they're productive members of society. They're with their family. They have a job, and shout out to Julio Gonzalez for hiring Duke. Great hire, great guy. But Jessica, you've been at the forefront of this for a long time. I know early on it's been a very lonely battle. I want to thank you for your courage.
Thank you.
And for your ability to reach out to our side. And you've done a phenomenal job at that. When I say our side, MAGA, Trump, all that, reaching out to our side and helping us understand why this is so critical. And our base is Jessica's base. It's the same. We have the same agenda on this particular bill. That's why it got 80%. And if they understood it, the 11% that didn't go for this is because we don't understand it. They understood it would be 100%. Does that
Look,
make sense?
this isn't a bill about politics. This is a bill about people. And to that point, we need all the people we can helping us. I'd encourage people to go to Reform Alliance, go to safersupervision.com and sign up to help us. So safersupervision.com. We'd love to have all the help that we can get moving your Congress member to do the right thing, bring this for a vote, and get it passed.
Jessica Jackson, CEO of the Reform Alliance. Thank you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, John.
I really, really appreciate it, Jessica. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. You have a very Merry Christmas with your family. We'll be right back with your calls. Derek Van Orden on line 1. He's going to be back. Let's roll.